Welcome back to the Liturgic Week. So we're all familiar with the story of the Last Supper, and I want to take a look at something in particular. In Matthew 26:23, towards the end of the supper, Jesus answered and said, "He who dips his hand with me in the dish, the same shall betray me." Now, interestingly, the Amplified Bible says, Jesus answered, "He who has dipped his hand in the bowl with me as a pretense of friendship will betray me." So he who dips the hand, well, dipped is the Greek word embato, G1686, and it means to well on something or to wet it, dip your hand in the water. To dip the hand, that's a more interesting word. Hand is the Greek word shear, G5495, and it speaks of the hollowness for grasping with the hand, literally or figuratively, and it means to grasp for power. And we quite often use it we apply it to God, symbolizing His might, the mighty hand of God. The right hand typically symbolizes strength, honor, and blessing, while the left hand, sorry for all of us left-handers out there, is occasionally tied to foolishness or human actions. We're told in Ecclesiastes 10, "A wise man's heart turns him toward the right, which is the way of blessing, but a fool's heart turns him toward the left, which is the way of condemnation." So going back to the dinner in the bowl, every Jewish meal had a common bowl that people dipped in. Normal at a usual meal, that bowl was a common bowl of oil, usually used to soften the bread that they're eating. At the Last Supper, it was more likely a mixture of fruits, nuts, and wine or vinegar or haroset. Typically, it was bitter tasting. It was a Passover reminding of the suffering of the Jews in the exile and their eventual freedom from the slavery of Egypt. And in both cases, the hand was not to touch the oil or the haroset, only the bread. Think of a bowl of salsa at a dinner. You just put your chips in there. You didn't stick your fingers in the bowl. The same thing there. So Judas dipping his bread with Jesus speaks of man grasping with his own hand, trying to take over the anointing and using it himself. Sound familiar at all? Ever seen that happen? Or for that matter, have we ever been tempted when the anointing was particularly strong at a meeting to sit back and say, "Ooh, next time we can do it this way and make it better"? It's dipping the hand in the bowl. And Judas wasn't the only one who had this problem. In 1 Samuel 15, we see the story of Saul had been sent out by Samuel to attack the Amalekites and kill them as he was instructed. But Samuel didn't come. So Saul, rather than waiting for him, became frightened that the people were going to rebel against him, and he became impatient, and he tried to seize the anointing for himself. And that, for Saul, eventually led to his losing the kingship of Israel. So Saul acted out of fear. Judas acted out of ambition. Psalm 51 tells us the sacrifices of God are a broken spirit. A broken and contrite heart you will not despise, O God. Be humble before God.